Now, isn't it true that you jumped to a conclusion and you speculated about what I believe?
I don't believe so.
Should arrest for fraud charges be made on speculation and without a complaining party?
You were arrested for fraud, you were arrested for unsworn falsification of prohibitions.
Your complaint for prohibition says I knowingly used a false name. Do you consider your given name false?
It's still my new name. But I did not get my driver's license in the name Andy, which is what I typically go by.
Is it your opinion that by changing a name legally that the old name is all of a sudden false?
For the purpose of obtaining a driver's license, yes.
What's the definition of a false name?
A false name? Well, in this particular case, it's a name that was not your legal name.
Is that defined anywhere in statutes?
I believe it's actually defined in the SAFC rules, the
What's that?
Department of Safety Administrative Rules. Those are available online on NewHampshire.gov.
Given that the Supreme Court of New Hampshire says that using more than one name is legal, so it's not for a fraudulent criminal purpose, wouldn't that suggest that a false name is only one that's used with criminal intent?
Well, again, the SAFC rules, the Department of Safety rules, require to use your legal name. Therefore, if you're not using your legal name, then you are doing it for illegal purposes.
Is everyone required to read the whatever rules, those rules you're talking about prior to obtaining a license?
No, but most people typically use their legal name when they get their driver's license.
If what I did was a crime, have you arrested the DMV workers for being accessories to that crime?
No,
Relevance. Sustained.
That's all I have.
Okay, any
Favor of executive
Okay, I just need to ask a question, so we can see if a person obtains a license in their own name, similar to what Mr. Freeman was saying, on November 6th, he would have been okay. If everything that happened on the 8th happened on the 6th, he would have been okay.
that is correct, John.
In New Hampshire, can a person go to a different DMV other than, like I would go to Keene, most people here would go to Keene, but could I go to Plymouth, for example, and go to DMV and renew my New Hampshire license even though I live down in this area?
Yes, you may.
So if a person got a license legally in one jurisdiction, the next day changed their name, they could go up to another DMV and apply under their new name, correct?
That is correct.
They have to supply the Social Security number
Correct.
along with that.
That is correct. I had a similar case like that where, unfortunately, somebody's got two different Social Security numbers. She was able to be licensed in two different states because of the two Social Security numbers. They actually tie the Social Security number to check to make sure you don't have a license in another state or suspended in another jurisdiction. That's how they require a Social Security license, or Social Security number on your first application.
I just want to make sure I have the procedure right. Based on my questions, did you want to ask anything else? Do you want to ask anything else based on what I answered? All right, thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Ron.
Favor of the
Okay, State Trustee, this case, do you have any witnesses or testimony you want to offer?
I may.
Hang on a second.
Mr. Freeman provided me with this. I don't know if it needs to go to the court.
I can take that back. He doesn't have to.
Do you want this as an exhibit here, please?
Please.
Okay, why don't you, I only have the one. I've got the 2 pages. I'll make those defendants A and B, okay?
Before we get to
I forget, which one did you offer first? Those with name change?
yes.
Okay, that'll be defendants exhibit A. And then B will be this service center information. Okay, do you have any witnesses first of all?
Prior to that, I'd like to address the motion to dismiss
Okay.
at this point. Are you familiar with it, or do I need to?
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with it. Let me just turn it in front, get in front of me. Go ahead.
Do I need to read this into the record?
Make your argument. I mean, the motion itself is in the record. If you want to amplify it, based on the testimony that you heard, if anything you want to do.
So, is it appropriate to also motion for a directed verdict?
This is the time you can do that. Yeah.
I'd like to motion for a directed verdict of not guilty on this and or to dismiss this case, given that the state has failed to prove the charges here. They allege that I knowingly did these things with criminal intent, and obviously I didn't. And this court is well aware of my long-term use of both names. That's one of the reasons why I submitted the notice of name change from back in 2010 when I think that was the first time that I'd asked the court to acknowledge Moskowitz versus Moskowitz and acknowledge use Ian Freeman on court paperwork. Your response to that, if I recall correctly, was that you wouldn't order that to be changed on paperwork, but you would do me the courtesy of calling me by the name Mr. Freeman in court. So just bringing that back up. For my purposes, the affidavit of facts here, which I swore to previously, do I need to read these in on the stand? Or
you're in a bit of a bind here, and if you want to testify, if you're going to try to offer facts that haven't already been produced from the witness stand, somebody has to testify to that. They have to come in through some competent source. So I can't, as I said before, I can't consider facts that haven't been sworn to or affirmed as part of the case. If you want to make legal arguments now as to why you think, or an argument as to why the facts are insufficient at this stage for the case to go any further, you can do that, but you can't add facts that haven't been testified to your argument.
Given that the testimony that has happened thus far, we had the DMV lady, Carolyn, who said she didn't believe that I was using these for criminal intent or wrongful purpose, and Detective Player admitted that it was possible that I wasn't doing it for a criminal intent or wrongful purpose. To me, that's reasonable doubt, and so therefore you should dismiss this case.
Right, I think the state would be able to get all the evidence in light most favorable to the state. The state has proven the truthful plaintiff for the court. First, that's one falsification. It is clear from the evidence and from the testimony, especially the documents in the court, that on November 7th, the name change was granted by the probate court. Mr. Freeman has used that name throughout this court for years prior to that. It was officially changed by the court, signed off by Justice McLeod, and Mr. Freeman was aware of that. Then goes in the next day to the DMV, and it appears to be just out of convenience, or whatever, to avoid a reinstatement fee or not to have to give up his Social Security number or anything of that nature. Besides, he's going to fill out the paperwork using the name Ian Bernard. There's no question that one day after he's still aware of the probate court's order changing his name. So I think he knew that it wasn't true, that what he was writing down, that it was Ian Bernard was his name. And his name had been changed, and the prohibitions that is now false name, by that maybe his given name. Now the state of New Hampshire recognizes this individual as Ian Freeman. So Ian Bernard is no longer his name through the probate process. So while people may use multiple different names or celebrities or anything of that nature, when it comes to official documents, you have to use the name that your legal name. And on November 7th, this defense legal name became Ian Freeman. So on November 8th, we went to the DMV and used the Ian Bernard name. He was doing that as a false name. He was doing that to avoid providing information to the state. And I think the evidence is also shown through the Florida license of that nature. This defendant continued to use both names, and in time to get a driver's license in Florida, went back to the Bernard name. So I think it is clear. I think the state has proven this case, and I'd ask that the defense motion be denied.
Actions from expediency, documents, and speculation on the part of the investigator do not prove that I knowingly did anything for a fraudulent purpose.
At this stage, the standard that's applicable is the court has to view the evidence in the light most favorable to the prosecution. And under those circumstances, the state prosecution has clearly carried its burden at this stage of the proceedings at least. So I'm going to deny your motion for a directed verdict at this point. And then next question again is, do you have any, first of all, any witnesses who might testify?
No, but I will testify.
Okay, come on. Please raise your right hand and swear or affirm anything you say will be the truth.
I affirm. I will tell the truth.
Your name, please.
I'm Ian Freeman.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Now, I just want to warn you, there have been some allegations here of other potential, call it misconduct, I don't know, that it's not charged, so you're subjecting yourself to questions about other possible issues, you understand that?
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, you have a Fifth Amendment privilege otherwise, but you may open the door. I don't see any urgency on the part of the prosecution to pursue any of those things, but I just wanted to advise you that there's a certain amount of risk.
All right.
All right, why don't you go ahead?
I'd like to read into the record Article 4 of the New Hampshire Constitution, which is the right of conscience is unalienable. Among the natural rights, some are in their very nature unalienable, because no equivalent can be given or received for them. Of this kind are the rights of conscience. With that in mind, I'd like to just read in the affidavit of facts I submitted to the court previously.
Yes, sir. Yeah, these, it's what you testified to here today, so if you want to read that verbatim, you can certainly do that. Go ahead.
Do you mind if I proceed?
I just want to make sure I'm trying to get that in front of me. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I had submitted this previously to the court, saying that Ian H. Bernard and Ian D. Freeman are one and the same for all purposes that I engage in. I do not believe that Ian Bernard is false or fictitious, as it is my given name. I made no statement on or pursuant to any form of the state of New Hampshire which I believe to be untrue, and I never had any purpose to deceive any public servant in the performance of his or her official function. I attempted to acquire the license under the name Ian Freeman at first, but it was denied due to the DMV employees wanting Social Security paperwork I did not have and cannot get. I could acquire the license immediately, or since I could acquire the license immediately under my given name, I chose that route in the interest of efficiency and not fraud. DMV employees were well aware of my name change since I had been in the previous day, November 7th, applying as Ian Freeman. They did accept my application on the 8th with the name Ian Bernard and did not alert me that using my given name would be a problem. I subsequently updated the New Hampshire driver's license to the name Ian Freeman as I told the clerks that I would. So there's that. And just to be clear, I did go into the DMV on the day of receiving the probate court paperwork and attempt to acquire the license under the name Ian Freeman. It was at that time I was informed that I would need certain paperwork from Social Security, and then I determined later that I wouldn't need that paperwork from Social Security if I just got the license in my given name. So that was my motivation for getting the license in the given name. Ultimately, turns out that was a mistake and it was illegal. No one informed me of that, and the ladies at the DMV were certainly aware, since I'd come in the day prior, that I'd already had a legal name change. So they knew that I had a legal name change. I had shown them the probate court paperwork, because that was what I needed to show them to get the...
Just on the 8th or the 7th?
This was on the 7th. So on the 7th, I was given the paperwork by the probate court in the first place I went, given that I was under the threat of suspension, as Andrew pointed out earlier. I went straight to the DMV, showed them the probate court paperwork, showed them the old Ian Bernard license at that point, and whatever other paperwork I could show them, and they told me I still needed to get that Social Security paperwork as well.
I don't know if you need to refer to it.
No. So they told me I needed to get the Social Security paperwork, and that's when I told them I don't want to deal with Social Security. I'm not interested in engaging with any business with them. And so I wanted to figure some other way out. I did some research, discovered that I could get the license under the name Ian Bernard, and then change my name through the New Hampshire DMV to Ian Freeman. And I wouldn't have to get that Social Security paperwork.
Can I ask, what research did you do to get the name on? So you did some research that said you could get it under Ian Bernard.
Well, that was my conclusion. My conclusion was that if I had a license under the name Ian Bernard from New Hampshire, that changing my name after acquiring the license under the name Ian Bernard would not require the Social Security paperwork. So to me, that was an easier thing to accomplish, and that was the motivation there. I subsequently wrote up a piece for freekeen.com about this that I think goes through my perspective on what happened. So I'd like to read that into the record as well. Essentially, it's testimony.
Again, it's testimony.
Yeah. So I wrote this on April 12th, 2014. This was pretty much right after I was arrested by Andrew there. If you've been reading the Free Keene blog for the last year, you know that in the summer of 2013, the New Hampshire DMV suspended my driving privileges indefinitely until I got a New Hampshire driver's license. You also know that for many years I've been using the name Ian Freeman without going through the probate process to change my name legally, and I'd like to add that the court is also well aware of that. In my interactions with the state and the city, this name change, in fact, has had mixed results. I was able to successfully register to vote as Ian Freeman and run for office under that name, but most courts would not recognize my name change. However, there were a couple of exceptions, including Concord District and Massachusetts' Palmer District Courts. However, most rogue men would refuse to recognize it, even though I would cite NH Supreme Court decision Moskowitz versus Moskowitz that makes it pretty clear that one can change one's name in New Hampshire without probate court simply by using the new name. They just ignored the decision. Since I'd been ordered to get a driver's license under the threat of violence, I decided that it would be a good time to do a legal name change. Now, I'd actually tried this a couple of years ago, but was stopped when I was arrested for going to court. That no trespass order for which I was arrested was eventually thrown out by this court, I might add, and the case against me, that case was dismissed. The DMV had told me that my privileges would be suspended as of November 5th. After that, there was a short window of time where if I did get their license, the $100 reinstatement fee would not apply. So that reinstatement fee, just to clarify, had not applied yet at the time at which I did receive the New Hampshire license. So I was in a hurry to get this done. The probate court process was simple and relatively quick for government work, but of course I was paying them $105, and they tend to be more efficient when getting paid.
Just the facts of Mr.
I got the official name change document from the probate court on November 7th and went down to the DMV to get the New Hampshire driver's license. I figured I had everything